I paid $50,000 for my sister's dream wedding. The venue, the catering, the band, it was all on my credit card. 3 days before the ceremony, my mother texted me, "Don't come. We want a stress-free day." She thought I would just cry. Instead, I called the venue coordinator. I didn't cancel the party. I just changed the guest of honor. You know, folks, they say that money cannot buy happiness, but it sure can rent a whole lot of fake love. I have seen families that would tear each other apart over a nickel, holding hands and singing hymns the moment a check clears. My name is Grandma, and today I am going to tell you the story of Sarah. Sarah was the kind of woman who thought if she just paid enough and worked hard enough, her family would finally see her. She was wrong. But sometimes being wrong is the first step to getting even. Sarah sat in her corner office on the 42nd floor, overlooking the city skyline. It was 8 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. The cleaning crew was already vacuuming the hallway, but Sarah was not going home. She had one final wire transfer to approve. On her computer screen was an invoice from the Gilded Lily Floral Design. The total was $12,400. 4 flowers. Sarah rubbed her temples. Her younger sister Emily wanted peonies. Peonies were out of season in November. They had to be flown in from New Zealand. But Emily had cried. She had thrown herself on her mother's velvet sofa and sobbed that without peonies, her wedding would be a disaster. And their mother Joan had looked at Sarah with that familiar disappointed sigh and said, "Sarah, surely you can fix this. You are the successful one." So Sarah fixed it, just like she fixed the deposit for the venue. Just like she fixed the catering bill when the guest list swelled from 100 to 200 people. Just like she fixed the custom dress, that cost more than Sarah's first car. Sarah clicked the button that said approve. The screen flashed. Transaction complete. That was it. The last bill. The wedding was this Saturday. $55,000 of Sarah's hard-earned money was now officially gone. She leaned back in her ergonomic chair and let out a breath she felt like she had been holding for 6 months. It was done. She could finally stop being the bank and start being the sister. She imagined the wedding day. She imagined standing next to Emily in the bridal suite, helping her zip up the dress. She imagined her mother finally hugging her and saying, "Thank you, Sarah. We could not have done this without you." She picked up her phone to text her mother. She wanted to let her know the flowers were paid for. She wanted to hear that validation. But before she could type a single word, a message popped up on her screen. It was from Joan. Sarah smiled. Maybe her mother was psychic. Maybe she was calling to ask if Sarah wanted to come over for dinner tomorrow to go over the final timeline. Sarah opened the message. There was no greeting. There were no emojis. There was just a block of text that hit her harder than a physical slap. "Sarah, we have been talking. Emily and I think it is best if you do not attend the ceremony or the reception on Saturday. You know how you get with your work calls and your stress. We want a drama-free day for Emily. It is her special moment. We will send you pictures. Love, Mom." Sarah stared at the phone. She blinked. She read it again. "Do not attend. Drama-free." The room went silent. The hum of the refrigerator in the break room down the hall seemed to disappear. All Sarah could hear was the rushing of blood in her ears. Drama-free. Sarah was the one who negotiated the contract when the venue tried to double book. Sarah was the one who drove to the bakery at 4 in the morning when they lost the cake order. Sarah was the one who smoothed over every single crack in this perfect porcelain wedding. And now that the final check had cleared, they were cutting her loose. She wasn't a sister. She wasn't a daughter. She was a vendor. She was a resource that had been fully tapped out. Sarah placed the phone gently on her mahogany desk. Her hand was trembling, not from sadness, but from a cold, sharp clarity. She looked at the computer screen where the words "transaction complete" were still glowing. $12,400 for flowers she would never smell. $55,000 for a party she was banned from entering. She thought about her mother, Joan. Joan, who always had a critique for Sarah's hair, or her job, or her lack of a husband. Joan, who fawned over Emily like she was royalty. She thought about Emily. Emily, who had never worked a real job in her life. Emily, who called Sarah at work, screaming about tablecloth colors. They thought Sarah would just take it. They thought she would cry in her apartment and send a polite gift. They thought she was weak because she was generous. Sarah picked up her phone again. She didn't reply to her mother. She didn't call Emily. Instead, she opened her contact list. She scrolled past Mom. She scrolled past Sis. She stopped at a contact labeled Venue Manager David. She looked at the time. It was 8:15. David would still be at the venue, setting up for a Wednesday corporate event. Sarah pressed the call button. David answered on the second ring. Sarah, good evening. I assume you are calling about the final head count? We are all set for Saturday. The peonies arrived an hour ago, and they look spectacular. Sarah's voice was steady. It was the voice she used when she was firing an embezzler or closing a hostile takeover. David, she said, I am actually calling to make a change to the event. A change? David sounded nervous. Sarah, we are 3 days out. The timeline is locked. The timeline is fine, David, Sarah said. But the nature of the event is changing. I need you to pull the file. I need you to tell me exactly whose name is on the contract. There was a pause. Sarah could hear David typing. Well, you are Sarah, David said. You signed the contract. You are the financially responsible party. Says right here. Client Sarah Vance. Excellent, Sarah said. And does the contract mention a wedding? Says event type private celebration, David read. We usually keep it vague for insurance purposes. Perfect, Sarah said. David, I need you to listen to me very carefully. The wedding is off. Oh my God, David gasped. I am so sorry. Did the groom run? Something like that, Sarah lied smoothly. But David, I have paid non-refundable deposits. I have paid for food for 200 people. I have paid for a 10-piece band. And I am not the kind of woman who wastes an investment. Okay, David said slowly. So, what do you want to do? Cancel? No, Sarah said. I do not want to cancel. I want to rebrand. David was silent on the other end of the line. I could hear the faint sound of silverware clinking in the background as his staff set up for another party. He was probably terrified. In the event industry, a canceled wedding usually means screaming brides, lawsuits, and bad Yelp reviews. Rebrand? David asked, his voice squeaking slightly. Sarah, we have a wedding cake ordered. We have white linens. We have a string quartet for the ceremony. Keep the cake, I said, spinning my chair to look out at the city lights. Cake is universal. But scratch the quartet. I want a jazz band, something lively. And the linens? Keep them white. But I want you to change the lighting gels. No soft romantic pinks. I want gold. Bold celebratory gold. Okay, David said, clearly writing this down. Gold. Jazz. But Sarah, what are we celebrating? If it's not a wedding, is it a corporate mixer? A charity gala? It is a birthday party, I said. A birthday? David paused. For who? You? No, I said. For the only person in my family who actually deserves a $55,000 party. My grandmother, Nana Beth. She turns 90 next week. 90? David sounded relieved. 90 is a big one. Okay, we can pivot to a birthday. But Sarah, what about the signage? The invitations? The guests? The guests are already invited, I said. They think they are coming to a wedding. Let's just call it a surprise. But I need you to do one thing for me, David, and this is non-negotiable. Name it. I need you to print new signage for the entrance. Big, bold. I want a banner that says, Happy 90th birthday, Nana Beth. And I need you to hire security. Security? David asked. For a 90-year-old's birthday? Yes, I said. Strict guest list enforcement. I am going to send you a very short list of people who are absolutely under no circumstances allowed into the building. Who are they? The bride and the mother of the bride, I said. I heard David drop his pen. Sarah, he whispered. Are you serious? You want me to ban the bride from her own? From the venue? It is not her venue, David, I reminded him, my voice ice cold. It is my venue. I paid for the walls. I paid for the floor. I paid for the air conditioning. It is my party. And on my party guest list, ungrateful family members are not welcome. There was a long silence. David was a businessman. He knew who signed the checks. He knew that if he argued, I could pull the plug and sue him for breach of contract. But more than that, I think he heard the resolve in my voice. He heard a woman who had been pushed too far. Send me the list, David said. I'll call the security company tonight. Thank you, David, I said. I will see you Saturday. Oh, and David? Yes. Put those peonies in water, I said. Nana Beth loves peonies. I hung up the phone. I sat there in the silence of my office. My heart was pounding, but not from fear. It was pounding with adrenaline. I had just hijacked a wedding. I had just declared war on my own mother and sister. But as I looked at the picture of Nana Beth on my desk, a small framed photo of a tiny woman with white hair and eyes that sparkled with mischief, I knew I was doing the right thing. Nana Beth was currently living in a facility called Shady Pines. It wasn't shady and there were no pines. It was a sterile beige hallway where old people went to be forgotten. My mother Joan had put her there 5 years ago because she required too much attention. I visited Nana Beth every Sunday. I brought her contraband chocolate and listened to her stories. My mother visited once a month, usually to complain. Emily never visited. Not once. Nana Beth hated that place. She called it God's waiting room. She always said she wanted one last big party, one last night, where she could wear her pearls and drink champagne and dance. Well, Nana, I thought, You are getting your party. I stood up, I grabbed my purse. I walked out of my office. I didn't go home. I went to the parking garage. I had one more stop to make tonight. The nursing home had strict visiting hours, but money opens doors there too. And I needed to prepare the guest of honor. I got into my car. I merged onto the highway. The city blurred past me. My phone buzzed again. It was another text from Joan. Also, please don't send a gift. We would prefer cash transfers to Emily's honeymoon fund. Thanks. I laughed. A loud, sharp sound in the quiet car. Oh, you'll get a gift, Mother, I said to the empty air. You are going to get the surprise of your life. I took the exit for Shady Pines. It was time for a jailbreak. Shady Pines smelled like industrial cleaner and boiled cabbage. It was 9:30 p.m. by the time I walked through the sliding glass doors. The receptionist, a young woman named Kayla, who spent most of her shift watching TikTok videos, looked up in surprise. Visiting hours ended at 8, Ms. Vance, she said, popping her gum. I know, Kayla, I said, walking up to the desk. I placed a crisp $100 bill on the counter. But Nana Beth forgot her reading glasses. It's an emergency. She can't read her Bible before bed. Kayla eyed the bill. She eyed me, she shrugged. 10 minutes. If the night nurse catches you, I never saw you. Deal, I said. I walked down the hallway. Room 3B. The door was cracked open. I peeked inside. Nana Beth was sitting up in bed, wearing her faded pink nightgown, reading a romance novel with a shirtless pirate on the cover. She looked up as I entered, her eyes narrowing behind her actual reading glasses. Sarah, she whispered, is everything okay? Did the stock market crash again? You look like you're on a mission. I am on a mission, Nana, I said. Closing the door softly behind me, I pulled a chair up to the bed. How do you feel about weddings? Hate 'em, she said promptly. Overpriced pageants. Why? Is Emily still going through with marrying that boy who looks like a wet noodle? She is, I said. But there has been a change of plans regarding the reception. I took her hand. It was frail, the skin like parchment paper, but her grip was surprisingly strong. Mom uninvited me, Nana, I said. 3 days before the wedding, after I paid for everything. Nana Beth's face hardened. She sat up straighter. She did what? That ungrateful. I told your father she was spoiled rotten when she was 12 and he didn't listen. And Emily, let me guess. She went right along with it? She liked the text message, I said. Trash, Nana spat. The both of them. So what are you doing here? Did you come to cry on my shoulder? Because I'm fresh out of tissues, Sarah. Get mad instead. Oh, I'm mad, I smiled. I'm $55,000 mad. And that is why we are going to have a party. I leaned in closer. I didn't cancel the venue, Nana. I own the contract. So this Saturday, instead of Emily's wedding reception, we are throwing your 90th birthday jubilee. Nana Beth stared at me. Her mouth popped open. Then a slow, mischievous grin spread across her face. It took 20 years off her age. My birthday? She asked. With the fancy food? And the band? And the open bar, I added. And the peonies, all of it. For you. But the guests, she said. They'll all be Joan's friends. And Emily's little sorority clones. We'll handle them, I said. But Nana, I need to know something. Do you still have that address book? The one with your bridge club? And the Red Hat Society ladies? In the top drawer, she pointed. Why? Because a party isn't a party without your real friends, I said. I'm going to make some calls tomorrow. We are going to pack that hall with people who actually love you. Nana Beth laughed. It was a rusty, delightful sound. Oh, Sarah, Joan is going to have a stroke. A literal stroke. Let's hope not, I said. I didn't budget for an ambulance. I squeezed her hand, but there is one more thing. I can't leave you here until Saturday. If Mom finds out, she'll lock you in this room. She'll forbid you to go. She can try, Nana huffed. No, I said. We are doing this right. Pack a bag, Nana. Tonight. Tonight? We are going on a spa retreat, I said. I'm taking you to the Four Seasons downtown. We have 3 days to get you a dress, get your hair done, and get you ready for your close-up. Nana Beth threw off the covers. She was wearing fuzzy socks with cats on them. Hand me my walker, she commanded. Let's blow this popsicle stand. Getting Nana Beth out of Shady Pines was surprisingly easy. The night staff was practically non-existent. We walked out the side door like two teenagers sneaking out after curfew. I helped her into my car, tossed her small suitcase in the back, and we drove away into the night. As we merged onto the highway, Nana Beth rolled down the window. She took a deep breath of the cold city air. Smells like freedom, she said. An expensive perfume. Is that you? Chanel number 5, I said. Good girl. The next morning, Wednesday, I took the day off work. I had family matters to attend to. I set Nana Beth up in the presidential suite at the Four Seasons. She was currently ordering room service breakfast, Belgian waffles, and a mimosa, while watching The Price is Right on a TV the size of a billboard. I sat at the dining table in the suite with my laptop and Nana's address book. It was a treasure trove. I started dialing. Hello? Is this Mrs. Higgins? This is Sarah, Beth's granddaughter. Yes, the one in finance. Listen, Nana Beth is having a surprise 90th birthday party this Saturday. Yes, I know it's last minute, but it's at the Grand Ballroom. Yes, that Grand Ballroom. Open bar, can you make it? Wonderful. Tell the girls. I called 30 people. 28 said yes. Apparently, when you promise free champagne and filet mignon to a group of retirees who haven't been to a real party in a decade, they clear their schedules. Then I called David at the venue. How are we doing on the signage? I asked. The banner is being printed, David said. He sounded tired but exhilarated. I also ordered a throne. A throne? For the birthday girl, David said. For doing this, let's do it. I found a gold velvet high-back chair. It looks regal. I love it, I said. And the security? 2 off-duty police officers, David said. Big guys. But Sarah, they are worried about liability. Blocking a bride can get messy. I figured, I said. Offer them triple their hourly rate. And tell them I will sign a full indemnification waiver. If Emily sues anyone, she sues me. They are just following orders from the contract holder. Triple rate and a waiver, David said. That will do it, they're in. Perfect, I said. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Emily. Hey, just checking in. Did you send the final payment for the DJ? He texted me asking about a playlist. I stared at the screen. The audacity was breathtaking. She uninvited me, told me my presence was drama, but still expected me to manage the vendors. I typed back, "Everything is handled. Don't worry about a thing. Have a drama-free week." Technically, it wasn't a lie. The DJ was paid. He just had a new playlist. Instead of Here Comes the Bride, he was queuing up Celebration by Kool and the Gang. "Who are you texting?" Nana Beth asked from the sofa, wiping whipped cream off her lip. "Just the planner," I said. "Nana, finish your waffle. We have an appointment at Saks Fifth Avenue at noon. We need to find you a gown." "A gown?" Nana's eyes lit up. "Can I wear sequins?" "Nana," I said, grabbing my purse. "You can wear whatever you want. You are the queen for a day." We spent the afternoon shopping. Nana Beth tried on dresses like she was Cinderella. We settled on a deep purple silk gown with silver beading. It cost $3,000. I swiped my card without blinking. As we walked out of the store, Nana holding my arm, she stopped. She looked at me, her eyes serious. "Sarah," she said, "you know they are going to hate you for this. Your mother. She will never forgive you." "I know," I said. "And Emily. She will scream." "Probably. Are you ready for that?" Nana asked. "It's a bell you can't unring." I looked at my reflection in the shop window. I looked at the successful independent woman who had spent her whole life trying to buy affection from people who couldn't afford to love her back. "I don't want to unring it, Nana," I said. "I want to smash the bell." Nana squeezed my arm. "Then let's go get some shoes," she said. "I need something comfortable for dancing on their graves." The rest of the week passed in a blur of luxury and deception. Thursday was beauty day. I brought in a celebrity stylist, a man named Paolo, who usually worked on runway models, to the hotel suite. He dyed Nana Beth's hair a shimmering silver white and gave her a manicure that involved 3 coats of sassy red polish. While Nana was getting her feet scrubbed, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. The Vance family group chat, which I was still a part of mostly so they could send me bills, was lighting up. Joan wrote, "Rehearsal dinner is at 6 o'clock at the Italian place. Just a reminder, Sarah, since you aren't coming to the wedding, you don't need to come to this either. It's for the bridal party only." I typed back, "Understood, have a great time." Emily wrote, "Did the venue coordinator call you? He said the ballroom is locked down for setup all day Friday, and we can't get in to drop off the favors. Can you fix this?" I smiled. David was doing his job perfectly. Me. I spoke to David. They are doing a deep clean of the chandeliers. Safety hazard. Just bring the favors on Saturday morning. It will be fine. Emily wrote, "Ugh, fine. But make sure the tables are set up exactly like my diagram. I don't want any surprises." "Oh, honey," I said to the phone. Surprise is the theme of the weekend. Friday night, while my family was eating pasta and toasting to their own greatness, Nana Beth and I ordered room service burgers and watched old movies. She looked 10 years younger. She was laughing. She was vibrant. It made my chest ache to think about how she had been withering away in that nursing home while Joan complained about visiting her. "Sarah," Nana said during a commercial break, "do you think they noticed I'm gone yet?" "I doubt it," I said. "Joan hasn't visited in 3 weeks. And the nursing home isn't going to call her unless there's a billing issue or a medical emergency. Since I paid the bill through the end of the year and signed you out for a procedure, they aren't asking questions." "Good," Nana said. I want to see the look on Joan's face when she sees me on that throne. Saturday morning arrived with a bright cold sun. It was the kind of November day that bites your cheeks. We were up at 6 a.m. Hair, makeup, the works. I put on my dress. It wasn't a bridesmaid dress. It was a gold sequin floor-length gown that screamed hostess. It was tight, it was flashy, and it was everything my mother hated. I helped Nana into her purple silk dress. She looked regal. She put on her pearls, the real ones she had hidden from Joan for years. Ready? I asked, handing her the walker we had decorated with gold ribbons. Born ready, she said. We took the service elevator down to the garage to avoid being seen. My car was waiting. We drove to the venue. The Grand Ballroom was a historic building downtown, with marble columns and sweeping staircases. As we pulled up to the back entrance, I saw the security team. 2 massive men in black suits with earpieces. David wasn't kidding. David met us at the loading dock. He looked exhausted but excited. It's done, he said, helping Nana out of the car. The room looks incredible. The band is setting up. And the signage, he grinned. The signage is aggressive. Show me, I said. We walked into the main lobby. There, right in front of the main double doors, where the guests would enter, was a 10-foot banner. It was printed in elegant gold script on a purple background. The Vance family presents, Nana Beth's 90th birthday jubilee, celebrating a legacy of love. And right below it, on a smaller but very clear easel sign, private event, guest list strictly enforced. No admittance for Emily Vance and Joan Vance. It's beautiful, Nana whispered, touching the banner. My name in lights. Come see the inside, David said. He threw open the doors. The ballroom was transformed. The soft pink wedding theme was gone. In its place was gold and purple splendor, balloon streamers. And at the head table, where the bride and groom were supposed to sit, was a single magnificent high-backed gold velvet throne. Behind it, a projection screen was playing a slideshow of Nana Beth's life, photos I had scanned from her old albums, while she slept at the hotel. Nana as a young woman. Nana holding me as a baby. Nana in her garden. There were no pictures of Emily. No pictures of Joan. It's perfect, I said, feeling a lump in my throat. The guests are arriving at 4:30. David checked his watch. That gives us an hour. The wedding guests, he used air quotes, were told the ceremony starts at 5 o'clock. So we have a 30-minute buffer, where your birthday guests will be seated and drinking champagne before the angry mob arrives. Excellent, I said. Nana, let's get you on your throne. We walked her up the small ramp to the dais. She sat down in the velvet chair. She looked out over the empty room, her eyes wet. Sarah, she said. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, I said, checking my phone. It was 4 p.m. My phone buzzed. It was Joan. We are 10 minutes away. The limo driver is an idiot. Make sure David has the bridal suite ready. Emily needs to touch up her lipstick. I didn't reply. I turned my phone off. I looked at David. I looked at the security guards. Gentlemen, I said. Battle stations. The enemy is approaching. You know, there is a specific kind of energy that fills a room when 50 senior citizens realize the drinks are free and the music is from their decade. It isn't the polite titter of a wedding. It is a roar. By 4:45 p.m., the Grand Ballroom was vibrating. The Red Hat Society had arrived in force, wearing purple hats and boas, looking like a flock of fabulous flamingos. Nana Beth's bridge club was already attacking the shrimp cocktail tower like it was a personal challenge. Nana sat on her velvet throne, holding a crystal flute of sparkling cider. We swapped the champagne for her just to be safe, beaming like a lighthouse. Every time an old friend walked in, someone she hadn't seen in years, because Joan wouldn't drive her to visit, her face lit up. "Mildred," she shouted. "I thought you were dead." "Not yet, you old bat," Mildred shouted back, waving her cane. "I heard there was filet mignon." I stood by the entrance, hidden behind a heavy velvet curtain, watching. It was chaotic, it was loud, it was perfect. But then the other guests started to arrive. The wedding guests. These were the people invited for Emily, her sorority sisters, Joan's country club rivals, my cousins who only called when they needed a loan. They walked up the marble steps, in their uncomfortable heels and stiff suits, expecting a solemn ceremony, followed by a generic chicken dinner. Instead, they were met by the banner. Nana Beth's 90th birthday jubilee. I watched their faces. Confusion, shock. One woman in a fascinator hat actually took a step back and checked the address on her invitation. Is this the right place?" I heard a man ask the security guard. "We're here for the Vance wedding." The guard, a man whose neck was wider than my head, crossed his arms. I had handed him and his partner a very thick envelope of bonus cash 10 minutes earlier, along with a signed liability waiver. They were loyal to the dollar, and today the dollar was me. "Private event," he rumbled. "If your name isn't on the birthday list, or if you aren't holding a Jubilee ticket, please step to the side." Most of the guests were confused, but they weren't angry. In fact, a few of my cousins looked through the open doors, saw the open bar and the jazz band, and looked intrigued. "Hey," I heard Cousin Mike say, "is that prime rib? And is that Nana? She looks great." "Name?" the guard asked. "Mike Vance." "You're on the approved list," the guard said. "But be advised, this is a birthday party. No wedding talk. And you kissed the ring." Mike sniffed the air. He smelled the steak. He looked at the confused crowd of wedding guests standing in the cold. "Forget the wedding," Mike said, loosening his tie. "I'm with Nana." He went in. He walked right up to Nana, kissed her cheek, and grabbed a beer. Nana looked delighted, but the calm didn't last. At 4:58 p.m., a white stretch Hummer limousine pulled around the circular drive. It was aggressive, it was tacky, it was exactly what Emily wanted. My stomach dropped. This was it. I signaled David. He nodded and spoke into his radio. "Eagle has landed." "Repeat, Eagle has landed." "Hold the line." The limo driver got out. He walked around to the back door. He opened it with a flourish. First came the bridesmaids. 6 of them, wearing blush pink dresses that cost $300 a pop. They stepped out, giggling, adjusting their bouquets. They looked at the building. They stopped giggling. They saw the banner. "What is that?" I heard one of them shriek. "Nana Beth? Who is Nana Beth?" Then came Joan. My mother stepped out of the limo, like she was royalty descending from a carriage. She was wearing a mother of the bride dress that was dangerously close to white. She was smiling her practiced plastic smile. She looked up. Her smile fell off her face like it had been slapped off. She froze. She stared at the 10-foot gold letters announcing her mother's birthday. And finally, Emily, the bride. She struggled out of the limo, wrestling with her massive tulle skirt. She was beaming. She was ready for her moment. "Why is everyone stopping?" she asked, smoothing her dress. "Mom, why are you stopping?" Joan couldn't speak. She just pointed a shaking finger at the entrance. Emily turned. She looked at the sign. "I have seen toddlers melt down in grocery stores. I have seen traders lose millions on the stock floor. But I have never seen a face contort with pure unadulterated fury like Emily's did in that moment. What is this?" she screamed. Her voice echoed off the stone facade of the building. "Who did this?" She grabbed her skirt and marched up the stairs. She looked like an angry meringue. "Move!" she yelled at the security guard. "Get out of my way. This is my wedding." The guard didn't budge. He looked down at her through his dark sunglasses. "Ma'am," he said calmly, "this is a private birthday celebration. Your name is on the do not admit list." "Do not admit?" Emily screeched. "I am the bride. I paid for this." Actually, a voice said from the shadows, "You didn't pay for a dime of it." I stepped out from behind the curtain. I walked through the glass doors and stood at the top of the stairs, looking down at them. My gold sequins caught the light. I felt like a gladiator entering the arena. "Sarah," Joan gasped. She walked up the stairs, her face pale. "What have you done?" "I planned a party, Mother," I said calmly, "just like you asked. You wanted a drama-free day. I figured the best way to avoid drama was to invite people who actually appreciate me." You stole my venue?" Emily shrieked. Her face was turning a shade of red that clashed horribly with the white tulle. "You stole my wedding?" "I didn't steal anything," I said, leaning against the doorframe. "I repurposed my investment. You see, Emily, when you buy a house, you get the keys. When you buy a party, you get the guest list. And since I paid for every fork, spoon, and napkin in this building, I decided I didn't want to share them with people who treat me like an ATM." Joan stepped forward. She put on her mother knows best face. It was the face she used to guilt me into doing her taxes or driving her to the airport at 4 a.m. "Sarah," she said, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper, "stop this nonsense right now. It is embarrassing. People are watching. Open these doors, let your sister in, and we will discuss this." "Misunderstanding. Later." "It's not a misunderstanding, Mother," I said. "It is a transaction. You texted me. You said, and I quote, 'Do not attend.' You wanted a drama-free day. Well, look at me. I am removing myself from your narrative. I am having my own party with MY flowers." Emily screamed, pointing at the vases visible through the glass doors. "Those are mohinis. I picked them out, and I paid for them," I shot back. $12,400. "Do you have $12,000 on you, Emily? Because if you want to buy them back, I take Venmo." Emily stomped her foot. A literal stomp. She looked like a toddler in a tiara. "I am the bride," she wailed. "It is my day." "Not anymore," I said. "Today is November 12th. Do you know what that date is? It's Nana Beth's birthday. The birthday you forgot. The birthday you ignored for 5 years while she rotted in that home." "Nana?" Emily scoffed. "She doesn't even know what day it is. She's probably asleep." I stepped aside. Through the glass doors, the view of the head table was perfect. Nana Beth was not asleep. She was sitting on her velvet throne, but she wasn't passive. She was holding her cane like a conductor's baton, waving it in time to the music, leading a group of her friends in a seated dance. She looked regal, happy, and very much awake. "She looks pretty alive to me," I said. The wedding guests who were still standing on the sidewalk, the ones who hadn't made the yellow list, were starting to murmur. They were taking out their phones. They were recording. "This is going on Instagram," I heard one of Emily's bridesmaids whisper. "This is insane." Joan realized she was losing control of the optic. She lunged toward me. "Sarah Vance, you open this door right now, or you are no longer my daughter." I looked at her. I looked at the woman who had criticized my weight since I was 12, the woman who had taken credit for my successes and distanced herself from my failures. "I think that ship sailed on Tuesday, Joan," I said. "You fired me as a daughter. I'm just accepting the resignation." I signaled the security guards. "Gentlemen," I said, "the sidewalk is public property, but these stairs are private. Please ensure the entrance remains clear for the VIPs." The guards stepped forward, crossing their massive arms. They formed a wall of black wool between me and my family. "You can't do this," Emily screamed, tears finally streaming down her face, ruining her airbrushed makeup. "Where are we supposed to go? The guests are here. The groom is coming. I suggest you try the Pizza Hut down the street," I said. "They have a party room. It's very affordable. Drama-free." "I hate you," Emily shrieked. "I hate you. I know," I said softly, "but you loved my money. And that was the mistake." I turned my back on them. I walked through the glass doors. "Lock it," I told David, who was standing inside looking like he was witnessing a murder. David locked the doors. He pulled the heavy velvet curtains shut, blocking out the sight of my sister, having a meltdown on the stairs. The music inside was loud. The band was playing Golden Years by David Bowie. The smell of expensive steak and peonies filled the air. I walked up to the dais. Nana Beth saw me coming. She stopped waving her cane. She looked at me with concern. "Was that them?" she asked. "It was," I said. "Did you let them in?" "No." Nana Beth looked at the closed curtains. Then she looked at the room full of her friends, the people who had written her letters and called her, the people who actually cared. She raised her glass. "To the bouncer," she shouted. The whole room cheered. "To Sarah." I grabbed a glass of champagne. I drank it in one gulp. My hands were shaking just a little. It is a terrifying thing to orphan yourself, to cut the cord. But then I looked at the banner, "Legacy of Love." I realized I wasn't an orphan. I was standing in a room full of love. It just wasn't the love I was born into. It was the love I chose. "Hit it, boys." Nana yelled at the band. The trumpet player blasted a high note. The party roared back to life. Outside, I knew Emily was probably calling the police. I knew Joan was probably spinning a story to the guests about how I had had a mental breakdown. I knew the war wasn't over. But for tonight? For tonight, we danced. You know, folks, there is a saying that the show must go on, but sometimes the best show isn't on the stage, it is in the parking lot. Inside the grand ballroom, the party was in full swing. The jazz band had transitioned from polite dinner music to a rousing rendition of Twist and Shout. I watched Nana Beth shimmy in her seat. She was 90, and the adrenaline was wearing off, but her spirit was still kicking high. But I couldn't fully relax. I kept glancing at the heavy velvet curtains covering the glass doors. I knew my family. They were like rust. They didn't just go away, they kept eating at you until the metal broke. At 6 o'clock, David tapped me on the shoulder. He didn't look happy. He looked like a man who was regretting his career choices. "Sarah," he shouted over the brass section. "We have a situation." "Did they break a window?" I asked, sipping my club soda. "No," David said. "They called the cavalry. You have flashing lights out front." I sighed. Of course they did. Emily was the type of girl who called 911 if a barista got her order wrong. Calling the police on her own sister for stealing a wedding was exactly her style. "Turn the music down just a notch, David," I said. "I don't want the officers to think we are running a riot. Just a spirited gathering." "You got it," he said. I walked over to the side table where I had stashed my purse. Inside was a black leather binder. I called it the football. It contained every contract, every receipt, every email, and every bank statement associated with this event. I had highlighted the relevant sections in neon yellow. I had tabbed the pages. I was an auditor by trade, and I treated this party like a tax audit. I picked up the binder. Felt heavy. Felt like a shield. "I'll be back," I told Nana Beth, who was currently resting her eyes, a contented smile on her face. "Give him hell," she murmured without opening her eyes. I slipped out the side door to avoid the main entrance drama. I walked around the building to the front courtyard. It looked like a crime scene. 2 police cruisers were parked at weird angles, their blue and red lights strobing against the limestone pillars. A small crowd of wedding guests, the ones who hadn't left for Pizza Hut, were standing in a circle, filming with their phones. In the center of the chaos was Emily. She was crying hysterically, pointing a shaking finger at the building. Joan was standing next to her, talking rapidly to a police officer who looked like he wanted to be literally anywhere else. "She stole it." Emily was screaming. "She stole $50,000. That is grand larceny. Arrest her." "Ma'am, please calm down," the officer said, holding up a hand. "We need to establish ownership." "I am the owner," Joan shouted. "I am the mother of the bride." "Actually," I said, stepping into the circle of light, "that is factually incorrect." The officer turned. He was a young guy, probably in his late 20s. He saw me in my gold sequin dress, holding a leather binder. He looked relieved to see someone who wasn't screaming. "And you are?" he asked. "I am Sarah Vance," I said. "The woman who is paying for the officers you are currently talking to." "She's the thief," Emily shrieked, lunging at me. Joan had to grab her veil to hold her back. "She locked us out. She ruined my wedding." "Officer," I said, ignoring my sister completely, "my name is Sarah Vance. I am the sole signatory on the contract for this venue. I am the sole financier of this event, and I have established a private guest list, which these individuals are not on." I opened the binder. I flipped to tab A. "Here is the venue contract," I said, handing it to him. "Signed by me, dated 6 months ago. You will see my credit card authorization form attached." The officer took the binder. He shined his flashlight on the paper. He read it. He nodded. "Okay," he said. "Sarah Vance, client. Here are the receipts for the catering," I said, flipping to tab B. "Paid by Sarah Vance. Here is the receipt for the flowers. Paid by Sarah Vance. Here is the contract for the band. Sarah Vance." I looked at Joan. Show him your receipts, Mother, I said softly. Joan's mouth opened and closed like a fish. She didn't have receipts. She didn't even have a checkbook. She had assumed that because she birthed the bride, she owned the day. It was a gift. Joan stammered. She promised to pay for it. It was a verbal contract. There is no such thing as a verbal contract for $50,000 in the state of New York, I said. And even if there were, you voided it. I flipped to the back of the binder. I pulled out a printed screenshot of the text message, the one with the little heart next to it. 3 days ago, I told the officer. I received this message from my mother, instructing me not to attend the event. They uninvited the host officer. I simply decided that if I wasn't welcome, neither was my checkbook. The officer read the text. He looked at the timestamps. He looked at Emily, who was currently ruining her makeup with snot and tears. He handed the binder back to me. He clipped his flashlight to his belt. Ma'am, he said, turning to Joan, this appears to be a civil dispute, but as far as the law is concerned, this lady has the contract. She has the right to control access to the venue. If she says you aren't on the list, you aren't on the list. But it's my wedding, Emily wailed. My friends are inside. My cake is inside. Technically, I interjected. The cake is mine too. But I am willing to send out a slice if you are hungry. You can't do this. Joan screamed, losing her composure entirely. I will sue you. I will sue you for everything you have. You are welcome to try, I said. But my lawyers are very expensive, and unlike you, I actually pay them. The officer stepped between us. Ladies, he said, his voice firm. The owner of the event has asked you to leave. You are currently trespassing on private property. You need to disperse immediately, or I will have to issue citations. Citations? Emily gasped. I am a bride. You are a trespasser, the officer said. Move along. The crowd of guests who had been filming started to whisper. They were seeing the tide turn. They were realizing that the drama-free wedding was actually a masterclass in karma. Joan glared at me. If looks could kill, I would have dropped dead on the pavement. You are dead to us, Sarah, she hissed. Do not bother coming to Christmas. Do not bother calling. Don't worry, I said. I blocked your numbers 10 minutes ago. I watched them go. I watched my mother shove my sister into the back of the limo. I watched the bridesmaids scramble in after them, dragging their bouquets. I watched the white Hummer pull away, leaving a cloud of exhaust and disappointment. The officer tipped his hat to me. Have a good night, ma'am, he said. Happy birthday to Nana Beth? She is 90, I said, smiling. And she is having the time of her life. Good for her, he said. I walked back into the venue. The cold air had chilled my skin, but inside the fire of victory kept me warm. I walked through the velvet curtains. The party hadn't stopped. The band was playing We Are Family. The irony was delicious. I walked up to the dais. Nana Beth was sitting on her throne. She looked tired but happy. She saw me. She saw the binder in my hand. Is it done? She asked. It is done, I said. They are gone. Nana nodded. She didn't try to stand up this time. She just reached out and took my hand. Good, she said. Now give me the microphone. I have a speech to make. I handed the wireless microphone to Nana Beth. It felt heavy in my hand like a baton being passed in a relay race that had lasted 30 years. The band leader, A perceptive man named Reggie, who had watched the entire drama unfold with professional detachment, signaled the drummer. A soft roll on the snare drum brought the room to silence. 200 people, mostly women in purple hats and comfortable shoes, with a sprinkling of confused but happy cousins, turned to look at the dais. The room went quiet save for the hum of the ventilation system and the clinking of a few forks. Nana Beth stayed seated. She didn't have the energy to stand, but her voice was strong as she brought the mic to her lips. "Friends," she began. Her voice wavered for a second, then found its footing. "Neighbors, cousins who I haven't seen since the Bush administration." A ripple of laughter went through the room. "You all know what today was supposed to be," Nana said. "You walked past the sign. You saw the white limo outside. You saw my daughter Joan screaming on the sidewalk." The room grew very still. Nobody had expected her to address it directly. In polite families, we sweep the dirt under the rug. But Nana Beth was 90. She didn't have time for rugs anymore. "For 5 years," Nana continued, "I have lived in a room that smells like bleach. My daughter visited me once a month for 20 minutes. My granddaughter, Emily. I haven't seen her face without a screen between us since she was in college. I was a checkbook to them. A lingering obligation." She paused, looking down at me. I was standing at the foot of the dais looking up at her. "But Sarah," she said, her voice thickening with emotion. "Sarah came every Sunday. Sarah brought me chocolate. Sarah listened to my stories about the war and about my first husband. Sarah didn't pay for this party to show off. She paid for it because she was the only one who remembered that I am still alive." She raised the microphone higher. "They wanted a wedding," Nana announced, her voice booming. "They wanted a pageant. But a wedding is just a promise. A birthday. 90 years of them. That is the proof of life. And tonight we are celebrating the only person in this family who knows the meaning of the word honor." She pointed at me. "This isn't my party," Nana said. "This is Sarah's victory lap. And I am just lucky enough to be the hood ornament." The room erupted. It wasn't polite applause. It was a roar. The red hat ladies were standing on their chairs. My cousins were whistling. Even the security guards by the door were clapping. I felt tears prick my eyes. Hot, fast tears. I had spent my whole life standing in the shadow of my sister's perfection, holding the receipt for her happiness. And now finally the spotlight had moved. Now Nana shouted over the applause. "Cut the cake. It cost $1,200, and it's full of vanilla bean and spite. I want a corner piece." We walked over to the cake table. It was a 5-tier monstrosity, draped in fondant lace and sugar peonies. It was meant to be the centerpiece of Emily's vanity. I handed Nana the silver cake knife. "Together?" I asked. "Together," she said. We sliced into the bottom tier. We destroyed the perfection. We put a massive slice on a paper plate. The china had run out and Nana took a bite. "Tastes like justice," she declared. The rest of the night was a blur of dancing and laughter. I danced with Nana. Well, we swayed while she Saturday. I danced with David, the venue manager. I even danced with Cousin Mike, who apologized for not calling me on my birthday for the last 10 years. "I didn't know," he said, looking around the room. "Mom always said you were difficult. She said you were cold." I see now she was projecting. "It's okay, Mike," I said. Just past the crab cakes. At 11 p.m., the band played their final song. Last Dance by Donna Summer. Nana was asleep in her throne, a half-eaten piece of cake on her lap, a smile plastered on her face. I stood in the center of the empty dance floor as the lights came up. The cleaning crew was already moving in, sweeping up the gold confetti. The magic was fading, returning to the stark reality of a rented hall. David walked up to me with a final invoice. Any damages? I asked, bracing myself. None, David smiled. Your crowd knows how to handle their liquor. Unlike the bridal party. He hesitated. Sarah, he said. I've done 400 weddings in this building. I have seen grooms run away. I have seen mothers get into fistfights. But I have never seen anything like this. You are a legend. I'm just an auditor, David, I said, signing the invoice. I just balanced the books. I walked over to wake up Nana. We had a hotel suite to go back to. We had a future to plan. But as I gently shook her shoulder, I saw my phone buzzing on the table next to her. It was a notification from my bank. Alert. Multiple failed transaction attempts. Vendor the Four Seasons. Amount $850. I frowned. I hadn't authorized any charges at the hotel tonight. I opened the app. Transaction attempted by card ending in 4498. That was my emergency card. The one I kept in a safe in my apartment. The one Emily had a key to in case of emergencies. My blood ran cold. They weren't done. They had left the venue, but they hadn't gone home. They were trying to salvage their night on my dime. I looked at Nana. She was snoring softly. One last fire to put out, I whispered. I picked up the phone. It was time for the final chapter. You know, there is a special kind of stupidity reserved for people who think the world owes them a living. It is the kind of stupidity that makes a person who just got kicked out of a venue by the police try to commit a felony an hour later. My sister Emily wasn't just entitled, she was reckless. And reckless people always crash. I woke Nana Beth gently. She was groggy, clutching her walker like a dance partner. Is the party over? She mumbled, adjusting her tiara. The party is over, Nana, I said, helping her stand. But the after-party is about to get very interesting. We need to get back to the hotel. We drove back to the Four Seasons in silence. The city was quiet, but my mind was racing. I had given Emily a key to my apartment 5 years ago when she broke up with a boyfriend and needed a place to crash. I never asked for it back. I didn't realize she had kept it, waiting for a desperate moment to raid my safe. We pulled up to the hotel entrance. The valet opened the door. Welcome back, Miss Vance, he said. There is quite a commotion in the lobby involving your guests. They aren't my guests, I said, helping Nana out of the car. They are my liabilities. We walked through the revolving doors. The lobby of the Four Seasons is usually a sanctuary of hushed tones and fresh lilies. Tonight, it sounded like a reality TV show reunion special. Joan and Emily were standing at the front desk. Emily was still in her wedding dress, though the hem was stained black from the street. Her veil was torn. She looked like a runaway bride who had run straight into a wall. Joan was yelling at the night manager. I am telling you, run it again. Joan shouted. It is a platinum card. My daughter has authorization. Ma'am, the manager said, his patience wearing thin. The card has been flagged for fraud. The system locked it. We cannot process the payment for the presidential suite. But it's my wedding night, Emily wailed, slamming her hand on the marble counter. I need a room. I need champagne. My sister is paying for it. Actually, I said, my voice echoing off the high ceilings. She isn't. Emily and Joan spun around. When they saw me, still in my gold dress, arm in arm with Nana Beth in her purple gown, they looked like deer caught in the headlights of a semi-truck. Sarah, Emily gasped. She looked at my hand. She looked at the card in her own hand. She tried to hide it behind her back, but it was too late. That is my card, Emily, I said, walking up to them. The one from the safe in my guest room closet. The one you stole. I didn't steal it. Emily cried. I borrowed it. You said I could use it for emergencies. Being homeless on my wedding night is an emergency. You aren't homeless, I said. You have an apartment. You just wanted a luxury suite to post on Instagram so people wouldn't know your wedding was a disaster. I turned to the manager. I am Sarah Vance, I said. That is my card. I did not authorize this transaction. In fact, I flagged this card as stolen in my banking app 20 minutes ago when I saw the first attempt. Joan stepped in front of Emily, shielding her. Sarah, don't you dare, she hissed. She is your sister. She made a mistake. She was stressed. Don't make a scene. A scene? I laughed. Mother, we are standing in the lobby of a 5-star hotel at midnight. You are screaming at the staff. Emily is wearing a dirty wedding dress. You are the scene. I looked at the manager. Call the police, I said. They are already on their way, ma'am, the manager replied smoothly. Automatic protocol for credit card fraud attempts, over $5,000. Emily dropped the card. It clattered on the floor. Mom! She screamed. Do something. Joan looked at me. Her eyes were pleading now. The arrogance was gone. Sarah, please, she begged. If she gets arrested, she loses her job. She loses her reputation. Just pay for the room. We will pay you back, I promise. I looked at Nana Beth. She was leaning on her walker, watching them with a look of profound sadness. She wasn't angry anymore. She was just disappointed. They never pay you back, Sarah, Nana whispered. They just take more. I looked at Joan. No, I said. The revolving doors spun. 2 officers walked in. Different officers from the venue, but the same grim expressions. Who reported the fraud? One asked. The manager pointed at me. The cardholder is here. The suspect is the woman in the wedding dress. The officer walked over to Emily. Ma'am, he said, I need you to step away from the counter. I didn't do anything. Emily sobbed. It's a misunderstanding. I have a key. Tell him, Sarah. Tell him I have a key. Possession of a key is not authorization to commit grand larceny, Emily, I said clearly so the officer could hear. I did not give you permission to enter my home, open my safe, or take that card. That is burglary and theft. The officer took out his handcuffs. Emily Vance, he said. You are under arrest for credit card theft and attempted fraud. As they clicked the cuffs onto her wrists, right over her diamond tennis bracelet, Emily let out a sound I will never forget. It was the sound of a golden child, realizing for the first time in her life that the gold was just paint. Joan stood alone in the center of the lobby as the automatic doors slid shut behind the officers and her screaming daughter. She looked smaller than I had ever seen her. Her mother of the bride dress was wrinkled, her makeup was running, and her status as the matriarch of a perfect family had just been handcuffed and put in the back of a squad car. She turned to me. I expected rage. I expected screaming. But she just looked tired. She is going to have a criminal record, Sarah, Joan whispered. You did that. You did that to your own sister. I stepped closer to her. I took Nana Beth's hand in mine to steady myself. I didn't make her steal, Mother, I said. And I didn't make her treat me like a servant for 20 years. You did that. You taught her that I was a resource, not a person. You taught her that consequences didn't apply to her, because I would always write a check to fix it. I looked her in the eye. Tonight the bank closed, I said. Permanently. But what am I supposed to do? Joan asked, her voice trembling. I can't fix this. I don't have the money for a lawyer. I don't have you. Figure it out, I said. Like I always had to. I turned to the night manager. I am taking my grandmother upstairs, I said. If this woman tries to follow us, please call security. Understood, Ms. Vance, the manager said. The elevator is unlocked for you. We walked past my mother. We didn't look back. We got into the elevator, the doors slid shut, and the last thing I saw was Joan, sitting on a velvet bench in the lobby, putting her face in her hands. Up in the suite, the silence was beautiful. Nana Beth sat on the edge of the bed, kicking off her heels. She looked exhausted, her age finally catching up with the excitement. Well, she said, letting out a long breath. That was better than bingo. But Sarah, I think I need a nap that lasts about 3 days. Are you okay, Nana? I asked, sitting next to her. I'm fine, she said. I'm sad for them, Sarah. But I'm proud of you. You finally stood up. You finally realized you are worth more than what you can pay for. She patted my hand. So she asked, Am I going back to Shady Pines tomorrow? I looked at this woman who had saved my soul tonight. Absolutely not, I said. I have a guest room. It has a view of the park. And I make really good pancakes. Nana smiled. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I like pancakes, she said. It has been a year since the wedding jubilee. Emily got probation. First-time offense, and I declined to testify at the sentencing hearing, so she pleaded down to a misdemeanor. She didn't get jail time, but she has a record now. It turns out it is very hard to find a rich husband or a high-end job when you have theft on your background check. She is currently working as a receptionist at a dental office. She sends me emails sometimes asking to talk. I send them to spam. Joan is still Joan, but she is a lonely Joan. She calls on holidays. I let it go to voicemail. I heard from a cousin that she tells people I abandoned the family. Let her talk. I am too busy living my life to correct the record. As for Nana Beth, she is the queen of my apartment. We have breakfast together every morning. We host a bridge club on Tuesdays. She is 91 now, and she has more energy than I do. And me? I learned a valuable lesson. I learned that family isn't about blood. It is about behavior. I learned that you cannot buy love, but you can certainly pay to get rid of toxic people. I still have that gold sequin dress. It hangs in the back of my closet. Sometimes when I feel a little bit of the old guilt creeping in, when I feel like I should just write a check to make people like me, I look at that dress. I remember the feeling of locking those doors. I remember the taste of the cake. I remember the look on Nana's face when the room cheered for her. And I remember that the best revenge isn't screaming or fighting. The best revenge is taking your money, taking your dignity, and having a party without them. That is the story of how I turned a wedding disaster into a birthday triumph. It is a hard thing to cut off the people who raised you, but sometimes you have to prune the tree to save the roots. If you have ever been the wallet of your family, let this be your sign to close the account. Tell me in the comments, would you have let the bride in, or would you have locked the doors like I did? I will be reading your answers while I share a slice of cake with Nana Beth. Until next time, keep your head high and your credit cards locked.